Do you play Final Fantasy XIV, and have you often found yourself asking, what do I do with all of this useless loot? Or have you ever thought, man, I'd love to make a quick guild without getting into the scary, intensive, and time-consuming world of Omnicrafting? Well, if you answered yes to any of those questions, this video is likely for you. Today, I'm talking about Desynthesis, what it is, how to unlock it, how it works, and how to make money off of it. So, let's get started. Now, I'm a big fan of breaking things down into steps, and each step of this video is going to be listed in the description with clear timestamps for those who may want to jump ahead. But before we get into those steps, I first want to make a few clarifying remarks. Now, things change a lot in this game, so it's unfortunate that everything I talk about in this video could one day be completely outdated and not helpful to you at all. So it is helpful for you to know that as of this recording, we are in patch 6.1, and everything, to my knowledge, is valid and accurate based on today's patch cycle. I am not a professional Final Fantasy XIV player, so I wouldn't consider this to be an extensive or exhaustive guide on desynthing. Think of it more as a layman's take on desynthing and how I personally got started in it, and what I learned along the way to hopefully help you streamline the process for yourself. And to that point, because I haven't really done most of it myself, I'm not going to be getting into any of the high-end desynth options in the game. So this is not the video to watch if you're looking for what legendary fish drops what items. This is more of just a layman's tutorial from a guy who calls himself Senseless. And with those clarifications out of the way, let's jump to step 1. What the hell is it? Now, anybody that's played Final Fantasy XIV for any decent amount of time will tell you running out of inventory space is a real issue. This is where Desynthesis comes into play. Rather than throwing items on your retainer to hold on to for reasons or selling things to vendors for next to no cost, Desynthesis allows you to break items down into raw materials. These materials are used in crafting recipes, so many of them carry a hefty price tag on the market board, giving you instant profit just by picking something up in a dungeon, breaking it down, and now you have gil. It's pretty nice. But it is worth mentioning, there will be plenty of times that you desynthesize something and it turns into, well, the equivalent of garbage. It's not going to be worth anything. But it is worth the effort in the end, because the amount of time you spent on this versus the amount of time you spend in many other activities in the game, it's a very good gil to minute spent in the game ratio. So now that we have a rough idea about what it is, let's talk about how we unlock it. Now, the simple answer to this question is that it's a two-step process. Step 1, get any crafting class to level 30, any class of your choice, it doesn't matter. Step 2, do this quest here. Once you've done that quest, the ability to do this will unlock and it will appear in your actions. To easily find it, simply open up your actions in traits menu, go down to general, and it will be right here. This is what it looks like. Well, as of today, it might change because this game is always changing. I mean, it may not even be in general anymore eventually, but it doesn't matter as of today. This is what Desynthesis looks like. It's this icon right here. All right, great, we found it. Now, technically speaking, that is all you have to do in order to unlock Desynthesis in the game as an action. But there's a massive catch here. Not every class can desynthesize every item. So what this means is every item, when you hover over it, the tooltip will tell you whether or not it is desynthesizable right here, and it will also give you a crafting class next to the repair level right here. Ultimately, this means this item can only be desynthesized on my character if I have leveled my leatherworker up to level 30. I know it says level 50 right here, but that's not what we're talking about. That's for repair, not desynthesize. I know. Clear as mud. So what this ultimately means is that if you want to be able to desynthesize every item that you come across in the game, you're going to need to level every crafter to level 30. Ignore the fact that mine are 80, you just need to be level 30 in order to do this. Now, with all of that said, I would highly recommend you focus on the MSQ until you get into Heavensward and unlock an area called the Firmament. This is a zone dedicated to crafters and gatherers and is, in my opinion, the most efficient and fun way to level both of those job types. I went ahead and provided a link to a crafting guide that I used during the Shadowbringers expansion to maximize all of my crafting jobs. You can just as easily use it to get to level 30 for desynthesis purposes, but it is going to focus on the Firmament largely from top to bottom, so if you don't have that unlocked yet and you do want to get into synthesis and you just don't want to wait in order to make all of that happen, the one alternative that I found very useful, and it might not be the most efficient way in the game, remember, layman, I'm a senseless guy, is Levequests. If you don't want to go through the hassle of crafting anything, this is perfect for you. Now, for those unaware, Levequests are given out by these Levemeet NPCs. These are unlocked by doing various blue quests throughout the world. I'm not going to go over that, but I will link a guide in the description for those of you that may want to unlock them. Once you talk to them, there's going to be a Fieldcraft and Tradecraft option. We want Tradecraft. At the top here, we're going to see all of the different crafting classes shown. And then you also have the Miner, Botanist, and Fisher for your gathering classes if you want to do Levequests on those. What we're ultimately looking for is a quest for the class that we want to level up, and when we see them, they're going to give us an item. This item is going to be in white text here, and it's the most important part of this bit. So if I want, I can pick this quest up. When I do that, I'm going to be looking for a pair of high durium knives, and I'm going to pick this one up too, and I'm going to be looking for a high durium bayonet. Once you know the items you're looking for, simply go to a market board, search for that item, go ahead and click on it and see how much it sells for. Now, in the case of this item, this is pretty expensive, so I don't know if I want to spend 65,000 gil just to do this, but I can check the other item that I found, high durium bayonet. Let's see if that's any better. It's a little better, and for the sake of this video, I'm going to go ahead and make a purchase. So I'm going to purchase this to turn it in for that Levequest. When I purchase it, you will actually see that it tells me over here that the quest has been completed. I just now have to return to the NPC to turn it in. Now, once you reach the NPC, you simply click on them to turn in the quest, and you'll get experience. But there's something I want to highlight here. When I purchased the item, I actually bought a high-quality version of it. This is seen in the little swoopy symbol next to its name here. When I go to hand this over, the NPC will actually warn me and say, do you really want to trade a high-quality item? The reason you want to do this is that you will get double the experience when this happens. The game also informs you of that here. So your reward will be increased by 100% because your delivery included one or more high-quality items. Click that, I'm going to click complete, and instead of 1.5 million, I'm going to get 3 million experience in a single purchase. So when I click complete, that's almost going to level me up right away. But regardless of what your journey looks like from level 0 to level 30 on your crafters, I think it's probably time to talk about how this thing even works. The first and most important thing that I think is helpful is to know that you don't need to be on the class required to desynthesize an item in order to do so. So, for instance, I'm on my Reaper, and this item here, it says it requires a goldsmith in order for me to desynthesize it, but without switching to my goldsmith. All I have to do is go to desynthesis, click yes, and there we go. I've desynthesized that item. And this is great because it means you don't have to go through a bunch of effort in order to break things down in your inventory. But if you do want a bird's eye view about the various things that are desynthesizable in your inventory, the actual action, desynthesis, will give you that. This is a list of all the items in my inventory and what class is required in order to break them down. The second point I want to bring up is that once desynthesis is unlocked for a particular class, you are able to break down any qualified item of any level regardless of your crafter. So, my goldsmith is level 82, this item says a goldsmith can break it down, but it's level 90. Absolutely fine. When I go to desynthesize it, it's simply going to tell me what the optimal skill rating would be, in this case 560 versus my skill level. Whenever you break something down that's higher than your skill level, you're going to level your skill a little bit. But if you have a skill level that matches or exceeds the item, when you go to break it down, it's actually going to inform you that you have an increased chance of receiving rare items. So you want to level your desynthesis by breaking down things that are higher than what your actual desynthesis skill level is, to level it up so that eventually, whenever you do break things down, you have a better chance of receiving rare items. Now, this third point is something I've already made a couple of times, but I really want to hammer the point home that you don't need to maximize your actual crafter level in order to maximize your desynthesis level. These are two separate things. Don't get them confused. When it comes to desynthesis, it's really a world of its own. And then the last point I want to make is that once you desynthesize an item, it can never be recovered. So make sure you are absolutely certain that you do want to click this button before you get rid of your hero's earrings of slaying. Because I can't ever get those back, well, unless they drop for me again. And that's pretty much it. You get a crafting class to level 30, you do the quest, you unlock the ability. Any other class that gets to 30 after that will unlock the ability without having to do the quest again, and then you go to town on your inventory, start breaking shit down, try to get some more leathers. Just be aware, desynthesis is an inconsistent thing. This isn't going to make you a gillionaire overnight, but it's a wonderful way for you to keep your inventory clean and make some gil as you go along in your adventures in Eorzea. If this video was helpful to you, please let me know in the comments. I've never done a tutorial video like this before, and this is one of the only topics in this game that I felt really comfortable trying to talk about it. So if it didn't translate, if it was too obtuse, if it wasn't clear enough, whatever it may be, feedback is welcome, because I do really want to help people with things like this, because if I know how something works and I can help you figure out how it works, why wouldn't I want to share that? A huge thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers, and from everybody here on the team, I hope you have a super okay day.